I had gotten an old request about Jason Whitlock when he compared Caitlin Clark to Jackie Robinson. I have to watch his shows for clicks and laughs because it's not to be taken serious. When you mention MLK, he's got so much to say about Dr. King. He always got to do the most, and he likes to blur the lines of being, how do I say this? He wants to be seen as an intelligent black writer who doesn't really want to come across defined his way, but he got a lot to say. He always got something to say, something smart, some way to downplay some diss track, you know. And of course, it's fashionable to pick on Angel Reese. I'm gonna tell you like this: Caitlin Clark has a better offensive repertoire, and she's got the hype with what she does. But don't act like Audra Wilson ain't playing. Don't act like there haven't been other players that are great. They're in that league. It's just that they got the great white hype and hope, like they do with Taylor Swift and music and others. And now Sabrina Carpenter and music. It's always somebody come along that they crown. And that's how it goes. Sports a different animal though, because in sports it's about the numbers and who's the best. We try not to compare it to other styles because if you were the best, you were the best, not because you were the flavor. Obviously, when Larry Bird was great, but he was great. There's no denying that. The Beirut mythicism is something that people have always cast a shadow over, and so that whole thing, and people romanticizing that, just like they did Elvis. But music is different, and we know who be taken from cultures and jacket. Anyway, let me address this though. Heck no, Caitlin Clark ain't in the same conversation with no Jackie Robinson. Jackie was a better overall athlete, and he faced real racism. There is no racism for a white woman playing pro ball or pro sports. There is discriminatory processes, but who controls the narrative in the country? People crack me up with reverse racism. This ain't Uno. This ain't where you drop that reverse and then I can make you draw two, draw four. Stop with the cap. They be capping hard with this reverse. She got because of the hype. She put up some great numbers. But she came to the league where people said you got to prove yourself. That's just with anybody. And ain't no hardship. This man had people putting black cats and all kinds of things and saying all kinds of things. And he couldn't eat in places. Who has Caitlin Clark been denied to eat at? And let's just go show you something too. So let's say Jackie Robinson was friends with Sammy Davis Jr., right? And let's say this was the 60s and Jackie Robinson passed in 72. Let's just say he went to go see Sinatra and the Rat Pack and Sinatra wasn't there and Sammy had a meal. And Sammy had to have a meal after the show, before the show. What do you think Sammy Davis Jr. is going to be able to eat in the mid-60s in Vegas? He's going to have to eat in the kitchen. He wasn't going to be allowed to eat in the main room. This was 60 years ago. So when people say asinine, stupid, ridiculous remarks like Jason Whitlock, I believe this nonsense that he be spewing. Yeah, he's a better articulate as far as like doing stories than Stephen A. Smith, but he tells more stories to appeal to the massa. That's what he do. Caitlin Clark ain't had no experiences like no Jackie Robinson. So stop with the cap. And as far as him downplaying Dr. King, as he got older, was closer to what Malcolm was saying. Dr. King, great orator, philosopher. People be hating because a black man in America carry more sway than most presidents. That's just the fact. They got every place in highways and towns and states named after him because he was grassroots who paved the way. I'm sorry that you had bigoted presidents and people who were separatists and that this man had a vision and he stood on principle. He went for something. He had something. Because you can sit there and say, oh, plagiarist, and you can sit there and say he did this and did that, right? But he represented something that none of those presidents have ever done. Not a one. Not a one. Not in terms of taking that step where he's united. And I know they didn't love him, but they had to respect what he was about. But this is what Whitlock does. He borrows, like, it's like this. You got some intellect in what you're doing. I'm hip to that. but you say it in a way that comes across like you panhandling off the plantation. And you ain't no Ralph Wiley. You're not deep. You know, you throw a lot of 64,000. You're kind of like Michael Eric Dyson, who throws the big words around. Well, you throw the lingo, you throw things in there, but then you make sure that you know who's buttering it. You make sure you know who's gonna put the butter on. Caitlin Clark is no comparable to Jackie Robinson in any shape or form or fashion, and no one is stopping her from doing what she want to do, how she want to do. Because as a matter of fact, there have been white players who come at her too, but we don't talk about that because it doesn't sell tickets. Angel Reese is the one that sells tickets. There's no hostility towards her. She has a green light to do what she does. She's box office. That's what they want. I mean, she's good. She ain't great. She got room to grow. Her team is not that great. So, but I understand the fanfare. I get the great white hype and hope. I get it. But you got to keep Jackie Robinson and Dr. King out your lips because you're not that deep. I know what you're trying to do. And there are people who actually take you serious with that mess. Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another share. If you like, stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free, and all the time. Peace.